Maria Rassiwalla, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm really glad that you were able to do this. You're going to be the second video that I do on female entrepreneurs that have seen success and that have taken risks. So, and I appreciate Sandy for introducing us. So if you want to introduce yourself and give a little bit of a background on who you are, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Maria Rassiwalla. Thank you for carving out time and having me here today. Just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I am a mother of two young children. I have a 2-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl, which takes up a lot of my time, as you can. They keep me busy. And then I also run 2 different companies. So I have an interior design company called 3 Point Interiors. And then my primary focus is Hosty Co, which is a company we'll be talking about today.
Yeah, so 2 kids and 2 companies. Did that, like, you get a company after each kid or vice versa, or did that just happen?
You know, it's interesting. Both of them happened right after my son was born. He was actually a week old when both of these started. So as you can imagine, the last 2.5 years have been quite intense, but definitely worth it.
So why did you do that? Those second kid, a week later, you start a business. Like, how did that work out? I feel like most people would not be sleeping. The last thing they would want to do is think about work or start a business. So what made you want to start a business?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And I asked myself that question a lot for the first year, like, what am I doing and why am I doing this? But really, it was just based on opportunity. So do you want me to go into a little bit of the story?
Yeah.
All started?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So actually my son was a week old. And we had been talking with one of our partners who is now a partner with Hosty Co. And we were talking about an investment opportunity as far as a home. And my husband and I were looking at this home and we're like, we might move into this house possibly. We have 2 young children at this point. We need more space, et cetera, et cetera. So we signed papers and my son, again, was 7 days old and I was breastfeeding in the office while we were signing papers with our lender. And we imagined that we would be moving into this home actually fairly quickly. And then we just realized, we need some time, we need to step back. There was a lot going on, obviously, with 2 young children in the house. So we decided to Airbnb it, along with our partner who was Airbnb.
You Airbnb the new home.
The new home, exactly.
Okay.
And so we decided to Airbnb that home and just do short-term rentals as sort of a stopgap solution, just given how hectic our lives were at that time. And it turned out to be a very lucrative investment and opportunity. And so we saw that as something that we wanted to continue doing. And so hence, you move forward a few months and that's sort of where Hosty Co started. And that was sort of the impetus behind why we started that, just because of what we had seen on this particular home.
But so you did that through Airbnb though, right? But Hosty is like a competitor of Airbnb.
So good question. And there is a lot of confusion around that just with short-term rental management companies in general. So let me step back and zoom out a little bit. So Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com, those are all platforms as management companies use to gain an audience, to rent our homes through. So those are platforms that all of these short-term rental management companies actually use to get guests into their homes. What we particularly do with Hosty Co is we are a service management company. So we are sort of the middleman person between the owner of the home and the short-term rental world. And so we are the ones who come in, we manage your home, we design your home, we give your guests concierge service. And so we are essentially taking care of everything from A to Z as the middleman.
Got it. Okay. So that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, actually our lifeline versus our competitor.
You're what?
Airbnb and VRBO are essentially our lifeline versus being a competitor. We need them to get guests through our doors.
So how's that been going with COVID now?
Good question. Very good question. Last March, we sort of freaked out, as you can imagine. The year prior, 2018 and early 2019, the houses were killing it. It was such an amazing thing to see and how lucrative this business actually could be. Then COVID hit, as you know, in March of 2019 and 2020, sorry. And we were, as you can imagine, we were worried about how is this going to impact the travel industry, which obviously was very impacted. And so we got creative and we pivoted. And I'm actually very surprised and grateful for the outcome of these last 9-10 months. We started working with insurance companies. We started working with our networks and getting longer term renters into the door. There was still a market for short term rentals. So surprisingly, our houses were still getting booked. Obviously at a lesser rate than they were before, but my partners and I really strategized around what do we want to do here? And I know a lot of companies similar to ours closed, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It was just the industry was so impacted, and owners, couldn't pay their mortgages for their homes. And so they had to sell their homes, or they had to go traditional rent route. It was a big deal, but I am very grateful for how we pivoted, how we handled that. And we got a lot of renters through the door, especially families coming in from New York, coming in from all over the country who needed sort of an oasis or a getaway from these cities who were just plagued by the virus. Not that Chicago wasn't, but we essentially were a home away from home for a lot of families.
Yeah.
We were renting our homes for 3 months or 6 months or 2 months through still Airbnb and doing a lot of offline bookings as well. But it worked out, knock on wood. And we do see sort of an uptick and an upswing in Airbnb again. So we're hoping that 2021 is a lot better in that way.
Yeah, I think I see a lot of people, especially people like me who are single and live in the city, that being here in the cold COVID winters is not ideal. So, I mean, I told you I was in Texas for 3 weeks in December. I was planning on coming back here, grabbing a bigger suitcase, clothes and all that, and then potentially my passport, and then just going to San Diego. And then I found out San Diego is completely closed, so that's not happening. But I still plan on going somewhere else and getting an Airbnb for a couple of weeks or a month and just working remote, because I think people need it. People need it right now.
So we're doing exactly what you're doing. And I'm very jealous because I am not able to travel with my kids right now. If I was in your boat, I would be doing the exact same thing.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that, this is a really good example of COVID and how it's supposed to destroy something, but then you're able to, the cliche word is pivot, but you were able to pivot and do something different with it. Tell me a little bit more about why you wanted to own a business.
That's a good question. To be honest, all of this, and Amit, my partner, and Saber, my husband, who is also a partner in Hosty Co, we talk about this all the time. And it's a combination of this being an opportunity / a mistake / it just happening and unfolding the way it did. So I don't think any of us went into this saying, let's start a business tomorrow. Let's dive into this because it's something we really want to do. It sort of naturally unfolded the way that it did. And we're so grateful that it happened the way it did.
Yeah.
And I'll say that, once we sort of tested the waters and we saw what was happening, yes, then we consciously made a decision and say, let's do this. We're on board. But we also had some data points along the way because we had tested the waters. So, I would say it's not something, again, that we said, let's start a business and we really want to do this. It happened naturally. And then there was a matrix of other things that came along with that one home where it all started.
And that's always I think that's always where all the best businesses came from, is you find a solution for yourself, or that you realize people need a solution and you try to figure it out, and then all of a sudden turn into a business. So, and then what about, what I meant to ask you, because I mispronounced your name before, it's Maria, right? So what's your background? Because you're half Indian, I want to say?
Yeah, so Indian and Pakistani, which I consider are the same thing. My mom was born post-partition. My dad was born pre-partition. He was born in India. My mom was born in Pakistan. When I was younger, I identified as a Pakistani because my parents were raised there and we would go back and visit. And then when I met my husband, he's from India. His family is from India.
Mm-hmm.
So I visited India for the first time and fell in love. And I know my background is from there too. So I really see it just as kind of a combination now.
Got it. Okay. And then I feel like, you're with the circle, even your group of friends, you guys have a lot of entrepreneurs in that group, which is really cool. And I think you said your husband's an entrepreneur too. So it helps you, right, to like you guys are both entrepreneurs, so I'm sure that can get chaotic at times at home, but you kind of have that support system where one person, you have someone to bounce ideas off of. I'd love to hear your thoughts on like what advice you would have for women specifically, and especially women of color that are, depending on what background you are, I think your thought certain things is more important than others when you grow up, like being Indian, I guess most Asian descent with, it's like go to school for science, engineering, math, go to med school, and that's how you, prove your worth or own a business. Like I only have one other friend that I know that's Indian that's in a sales or business development type thing, and he's done really well for himself, but for females, it's not like Indian girls aren't taught to go start a company. So what advice do you have think about little, girls that are younger or women that are thinking about it? Like, what advice do you have?
Do it. Just do it.
I think there's a company that actually took that slogan already, so I don't know if.
No, but really my advice is do it. I talk with my girlfriends who I went to college with all the time about this, and there's so many ideas floating around in all of our heads. And I think there is a lot of pressure, one, as a minority, two, as a woman, three, as a mother, right? There's a lot of pressure on what you're supposed to do, what your attention is supposed to go to, et cetera, et cetera. But I will say the last 2.5 years have been grueling and tiresome, and it is a lot of work, but it is the most gratifying journey, and it gives you a sense of self, which I have not felt before. And it is so worth all of that to see sort of the outcome and the ability of what you're able to create, what you're able to do, and just the creative hand that you have as an entrepreneur in your own business versus just having an impact on whether it's the industry or whatever you're bringing to the table. That feeling is pretty amazing. It's again, there's so much that is involved and so many sacrifices that are made to get to a position where you're able to feel successful. You're able to say that, yes, I can hang my hat on this. This is something that I'm doing, and it's a successful business, but it's so worth it in the end.
Yeah, I think the sacrifice that's the word, right? Because you are sacrificing a lot and you are going out of the norm a lot of times. But I think, it's like your kids grow up, that mentality is going to be completely different because our parents' generation was a lot different than our generation right now. So, but it's great to see people like you, like taking risks and being bold like this. I love that. I love what you guys are doing with the Hosty. And I'm so glad you cleared up that confusion, because there was a part of me that thought you guys were competing with Airbnb, but now this all makes complete sense.
Yes, we're not there yet, competing with Airbnb, but
that would be cool.
Yeah,
but this was great. So I really appreciate you doing this. And just so usually if people want to get in touch with, whoever I talk to, I usually just say, because LinkedIn is where this gets a lot of views. So I figured they could just connect with you if they want to learn more about you, get to know you, or get to know about Hosty. They can just do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So they can reach out to us on LinkedIn. We have a website, www.hostyco.com. And, if you have a contact, feel free to connect us that way as well.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Maria.
Okay. Thank you.